This is Fritz Frivolous with continuous live coverage of the corner of Curious Lane and Just Because Boulevard, the epicenter of the alien invasion. And this just in, King Kong is fighting the Mobile Suit Gundam. And of course, all of this is happening amidst World War IV, making it pure pandemonium. If only Captain Planet were still alive to save us all. Dude, could you imagine? Trigger warning for sexual violence. Some of the content discussed in this episode may be upsetting to some listeners as they deal with rape and sexual assault. Listener discretion has been advised. Our justice system may keep bad guys in jail, but it is far from being perfect. Sometimes, criminals are sentenced too lightly for the crime they committed. Sometimes, if a jury is involved, they are not sentenced at all. Or worse, sometimes someone innocent is sentenced for a crime they did not commit. But what if we lived in an eye-for-an-eye society? What if the punishment was equal to the crime committed? Would this stop crime or at least lower the crime rate? Let us fulfill our civil duty while our two Supreme Court justices, Will and Tom, deliberate to deliver us an answer. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Tom Case.
And I'm Will Stark.
Will, I have a friend who, he's a really funny guy. He's a comedian, this one. And he's a real big fan of the show.
Okay.
His name is Ronnie. And the last time I talked to him, he said he really wanted to know what our opinion would be on this question.
Okay.
And this question...
Well, thank you, Ronnie.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ronnie. We do appreciate anyone who comes in and wants to suggest a question to us. He really wanted to see too what you would think of this.
Oh, my reaction.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
So the question is, what if we lived in a eye for an eye society?
Okay, I need parameters.
So okay,
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so the parameters is going to be: in the ancient beginnings of civilizations, the idea of living by a code known as an eye for an eye became the way of life, which spread throughout other civilizations in the world and lasted through time up to current times. What I mean by an eye for an eye is the way we would treat our justice system, like our code of ethics, basically. Meaning that, and I'm going to, okay, this example was not for me. I want this to be clear. This example was not for me. This is the example my friend Ronnie gave, right? And
you're about to blast Ronnie.
Yeah, I'm blasting him all over the place right here.
Okay.
He said, for example, if you raped someone's mom, they would get to rape your mom.
Well, that's not really equivalent.
Yeah, yeah.
Why are we... Okay, so first off, that's actually a terrible example because, if you rape someone's mom, sure, they're someone's mom, but they're also someone's sister, someone's daughter. Exactly. So, you know what I mean? Why are we why is the crime being presented in relationship to this person's children? It should be... The crime happened to a person. If we're doing eye for eye, then the retribution should happen to the person.
So, if you rape someone's mom, you yourself would get raped.
Yes.
Yeah.
Even though that in itself is horrifying.
I do believe that's what he actually, really meant behind the question. Right. Yeah. But when he gave that...
Wait, that doesn't make sense.
I know. When he gave that example, all of us at the table, all of us where we were at, we just started laughing
it's
what?
Horrible.
I know,
But yeah, so basically, it's if you commit murder, you are murdered.
If it was like that, or if you stole $1,000 from someone... This was another weird one too, surprisingly, was they would get to steal $1,000 from you. However, does that mean...
You would get fined $1,000. And it would be given to the victim.
Given, right? Because, that would leave all that work back up to the victim themselves, right?
Right.
If you worded it in that way. If you stole $1,000 from me, let's say you did it, in an underhanded way where I maybe didn't know, right at that moment. You know what I mean? Now, if I have to do exactly that back to you, well, I may not know how to do that. And you're going to be waiting for that. You're going to be ready for it. You know what I'm saying?
Now you're legally allowed to steal if you can.
If I can,
it's
right?
Not going to be so is this not government enforced?
No. Yes, it is. Like, now, this has become our way of life.
Okay.
Like, so the government's going to fully enforce this, quote unquote, an eye for an eye type thing, right? The objective of this is just to see how life and society would be different if we lived in that type of world.
Well, go ahead.
Real quick, I just wanted to bring up a little bit of a Fritz fact here. So, an eye for an eye is actually a paraphrase of a Hammurabi code, or a paraphrase of Hammurabi's code, a collection of 282 laws inscribed on an upright stone pillar. The code was found by French archaeologists in 1901 while excavating the ancient city of Susa, which is in modern-day Iran. Mm-hmm. This idiom originated in ancient Mesopotamian, in the ancient Mesopotamian Empire during Hammurabi's rule in the 18th century BC. An eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth was part of the Hammurabi's code. The full quotation for Hammurabi's code reads, "If a man has destroyed the eye of a man of the gentleman class, they shall destroy his eye." So that's basically how this all came to be.
It's an equivalent exchange kind of deal. A lot of studies have shown that punishment often is not a big enough deterrent for criminals. And that the best deterrent for criminals is usually rehabilitation. So I don't think we would have the lowering of crime that we see to this. I'm pretty sure in today's day and age, in the US at least, we're at the lowest crime rate of our history. It's never been lower, so, right? Yeah. And I think that's pretty common across Western civilization. I don't think we would see that. I think we would continue to have the high crime rates of ancient times. Yeah. Maybe a little bit less so because things are more traceable now with technology. I mean, granted, I don't know if we would have even developed this far. Because, here's the thing is, a lot of the really ancient civilizations had that type of philosophy, but very quickly that changes completely and things start becoming just laws. More complex laws with, different punishments for different crimes and different ways to deter things. We leave behind eye for eye very quickly.
Varying degrees. To have the punishment fit the crime.
Yeah, we leave that behind, the more we got developed. So it's did we just never develop then as a society? Did we always,
would you're saying, would that stunt the growth of society?
Yeah, would that stunt the growth and the progress of society? Because, we obviously aren't able to think ethically beyond the equivalent exchange, which is not very ethical really at all.
Yeah. You do bring up a good point too about the fact that it might not even really deter any crime because of the fact that, don't get me wrong, I know a lot of people view our justice system as, people going to jail for a certain amount of time, not strict enough for certain people who do certain crimes. But, that's because it's probably said out of ignorance when someone who didn't really experience that. When you get your freedoms taken away and you're stuck in that cell and you can't do what you want to do when you want to do it.
Right.
And I'm not saying that it is the best form of punishment or that it is the correct way to go about it.
Right.
But it raises the fact that you're right. Some of these punishments it may not stop the crime. It doesn't actually address the source of what's happening.
I mean, for me personally, justice systems should be far more concerned with prevention and with rehabilitation than punishment. In my opinion, and I feel very strongly about this, justice should never be about punishment. It should be about prevention and rehabilitation. Because punishment serves no one. Even for, it's like revenge. It's, and that's what this is. That's really, a lot of
it's kind of more revenge. Of a revenge.
It doesn't even really bring peace to the person who does the punishing. It just makes them more callous. You know what I mean? There's a slight cathartic reprieve for having done the deed. And then what? Emptiness? Yeah. It's meaningless.
It also brings it into, in my mind, my brother-in-law Andrew, he actually was kind of had a similar type question, which was, what if you can
what if you could see heaven and hell? Like if you actually saw them, it was a physical place that you knew really existed. Yeah. Would that really, stave off the crime? And, me and him were kind of talking about that. And I said, I don't know if it'll really stave off any crime because, a lot of people, especially back in the day, they still committed crimes, even though knowing full well that they may believe, through their religion or whatever, that they are, or they could go to hell if they did that. Right. And it still didn't stop them. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. That's hard to say because there's a difference between believing and knowing. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's one thing to believe that probably, but I think either way, if the retribution isn't like immediate and instant in the case of this heaven and hell thing, I think it is within human nature to slowly slide towards the behavior that's benefiting you now.
Yeah, like
I think it's hard for a lot of us to conceptualize something that like hasn't happened yet, and the further in the future it is, that like look at environmentalism, right? When it comes to like global warming, like we are still having struggles with people like accepting that it's happening, even though it's very apparently happening, and
because we're only feeling the first little bits of effects of what happened maybe 30, right? 40 years ago.
Yeah, so like I think we have a it's why we procrastinate too when it comes to like getting our work done or our homework done when we're in high school. It's like it's not real until the retribution's upon us. You know what I mean? Which is why I don't think the eye for an eye thing would help either, because it's not real until suddenly your eyes get plucked out. Like, fuck, I shouldn't have took that fucker's eye out.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I know this was a law, but I didn't actually think it would happen to me. Which, that happens to a lot of criminals, especially with like the more the sociopathic, egotistical ones.
Yeah,
the narcissists, right? They have a really hard time envisioning themselves failing and or paying for the consequences of their actions.
Because to them, they're the perfect one. They're the ones that all the rest of society doesn't understand.
All they do is correct and right. Yeah. How could they ever be punished? Yeah. So when then it actually happens, like,
and also I think another big chunk of the society. No, I shouldn't say a big chunk of society, but another part of society that this really wouldn't work with is those people who may be mentally disturbed or challenged or accidents. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like somebody may have taken someone's eye out and they're maybe claiming, yeah, he did that. He meant to do it. But the other person's like, no, I did not. Those things would have to be, you would have to definitely know because like the punishment's going to be.
And that's a good point.
Very rough.
Even now, what do they call it? The,
the burden of proof.
Burden of proof. Yeah. The burden of proof, for a criminal case, it has to be, beyond reasonable doubt.
Yeah, that's true.
Are we using that same level of incredulity, or are we even heightening it? Are we saying like it needs to be absolutely certain, or we can't convict?
You know what? I don't know. In my opinion, I feel like if we did have an eye for an eye society, that's how it would be, because they wouldn't want to.
Right, and and then in that case,
yeah.
We're talking about a really corrupt society where no one's ever going to get punished unless like someone in power wants you punished, because like no judge, there will never be enough evidence to make almost anything 100%. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So now we've effectively made a society where there almost is no punishment for crime unless you're a complete idiot and or someone super frames you.
Yeah, that is true.
And yeah, that's a mess.
And it also goes to make you wonder, okay, we're talking about like the most egregious crimes, like murder, you maimed someone or whatever. But, what if they're, what would they do to someone who commits, I don't know, certain crimes of fraud or like, certain crimes that don't necessarily hurt someone.
I got one for you. This is an interesting one. What do you do with the person who speeds like 10 miles per hour over the speed limit? What you now have to drive like your car gets made so it has to be 10 miles per hour under? Well, that's going to cause accidents. You know what I mean? Like what is the equivalent crime or punishment? I don't know.
Or what if you did drive fast and because of that you couldn't stop quick enough and you hit the person behind or in front of you? Now, what does that mean? They get to hit you?
I see, but that has something substantial. Right? What I mean about the speeding is like speeding is illegal, but if there is no victim, like if you get caught speeding, you get a ticket, right? Mm-hmm. But in this world, it's equivalent punishment. Well, what's the equivalent punishment of you having sped?
Yeah, that is weird.
Or what if you jaywalk? And you get caught, no one hurt. Like, does someone jaywalk over you? That doesn't make any sense.
That is I would want to see that.
Yeah, you got it. You jaywalk, now you get jaywalked. It's like, what?
Could you imagine if they still did it like the times when they used to hang people and people would actually come to the town square to watch the hanging?
Right.
Like, imagine people coming and be like, watch the jaywalking of Willie Stark, and somebody just...
Ow!
Yeah.
That's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Okay, are we done?
Mm-hmm. The guy stupid. They picked to walk on you is like 450 pounds. They picked the heaviest guy. No, you know what? It is funny. Because we talked about it, me and Ronnie, a little bit when he brought it up. I was like, oh, that is kind of interesting. And he did bring up the fact that certain smaller crimes would probably, he kind of thought about it too. And he would think like, well, the most, I guess, the most, common evolution from there would be like paying fines. Right.
Sure. Yeah.
But then he did bring up the fact that, I was like, well, what if you can't pay the fine?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And
then what
I was going to say.
right?
Yeah. And then what happens? What if you can't pay the fine? What does happen?
Yeah. That would be.
Do we quantify? I don't know. We would probably, I imagine a society that's this focused on, no, we got to stick to the eye for fucking eye. They would probably find a way like, okay, well, they can't pay the fine. So we have, quantified the cost of labor for community service. You now have to work this much. Now we're getting to slavery. Now you have to work this much to pay off this fine. Yeah. And how quickly does the more gruesome stuff we do physically, like taking out people's eyes, chopping off their arms, murdering them as an equivalent exchange, turn into, whoa, what if we pump the brakes on the violence and just put these guys to work because free labor's cheap, right?
Yeah.
Now we've turned into a slave society. This place sucks. And I guarantee you, like, that's just the next logical step in a cold, callous society that's ready to take the eyes out of babies because they did something wrong.
I ain't buying tickets to go to this world.
No, absolutely not.
But, it does make me think,
what about war crimes? Oh, God.
Oh, man. How would you... Okay, this actually ties into what I wanted to bring up right now. Yeah, how would it... Okay, first of all, wait. Let me go back to my first thought. Mm-hmm. How would law enforcement be? You know what I mean? Like, would law enforcement, do you think, would be changed to where they can dole out some of these, punishments right then and there, especially if they're, like, witness to them? Or...
So like Judge Dredd, basically.
Kind of, right? Yeah. Like a Judge Dredd type situation. And then this leads on to what you're just saying now about like, what if there's war crimes against, and then that would be against not only political leaders and stuff, but like the whole, all the soldiers.
At that level, there's no enforcer, right? So it just becomes mayhem, and then might becomes right.
Right, and then it would just be, it would become like, well, there's too many of them. They're going to just.
I think this is why we see that like societies that did develop slowly but surely moved away from that mentality, because in an eye for an eye society, the whole world does go blind. It becomes mayhem. It might ends up becoming right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
also too, I was thinking like, how would they carry any of these punishments out? Like the more egregious ones, like
the murder,
like where murder we already can see. We already see how that happens. But like if it was any of these other stuff, like I guess maybe that's how they would do it. Would they do it just like someone who's going to witness someone who's condemned to death? You know what I mean? Like where let's just say man, this guy he committed a crime by stabbing this guy 12 times in the stomach or whatever it was.
So that's how we have to kill him.
So, but let's say the guy survives, right? You know what I mean? How are you going to be like, does that person get to go in this room? Just like some people, family members of a victim who was a victim of murder, they go into the room and they see the murderer die. You know what I mean? They watch him and like, is that how, would you think that's how this would done for any of these punishments? Like, okay, well, you chop that guy's arm off. Now we're going to send you in this room, this medical lab, and there's going to be a window. And the guy that you chopped off his arm, he's going to watch us chop your arm off. Or does that guy get to come in and be like, okay, have you ever used a machete before? No. Okay. You go like this. And then
so the victim
gets to do it himself.
That's horrifying. Yeah, I mean, this is a horror society. That's what this is. This is like this is like a Mad Max style world. Like this is just it's gruesome and it's brutal and no one's happy and there's violence and death everywhere.
And thinking of like I think our medical field would be different too.
Oh yeah.
Because you're now going to, like, what are you going to do? You have to, for certain injuries, I'm sure that they probably need them to not be patched up right away. They would need this for evidence, you know what I mean? Or certain things, maybe.
I mean, photos can be taken, but yeah, I see what you mean. But then you just have to probably trust the medical examiner's reports. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, they're healed now, but this is what was reported by all the medical professionals at the time. True. So this is what we have to go with. Unless you can find them for, like, you know, if they're not credible for some reason. Yeah. That becomes a whole thing.
I also was thinking, too, you know what? There would probably be separate medical clinics or facilities for... Okay, if you're a victim of the crime, you're probably going to, like, your normal hospital, somewhere where you're like, yes, I need help. I'm about to die. Don't let me die, right? Yeah. But then, now you have punishment doled out to this criminal, and he's stabbed. Well, but he didn't kill the other person, so he gets to remain alive, too.
Well,
so now
I was going to say something about that. So, like, it depends on how you look at it on the equivalent punishment thing. Is like, you could look at it of, like, the outcome. Is the outcome what's most important, or is it the act? So, like, is the outcome of being stabbed and then living important to the fact of, like, okay, now you're going to be stabbed and we're going to do everything to make you live? Or is it the act that's more important? It's like, no, you stabbed someone 12 times and they lived, so you're going to get stabbed 12 times and you'll get the same treatment as them, but you might not live.
Oh, you know what I mean? I see what you're saying.
Like, the action was the same, but just because you were unable to survive it because you're weaker or however you want to, you know, or unluckier, like, that's just chance.
Wow, they would have, you know, the way I would look at that, though, I feel, yeah, you're right. You know what I mean? But I kind of feel it would be like, well, they didn't die, so we're not going to dole the same, well, they would have to dole the same punishment out, but... Right. You're right. I guess, because, like, sometimes, no matter what kind of a skilled surgeon or doctor you are, you may not just be able to, you know what I mean?
Right.
So if that person dies, I guess he dies. But that still goes to, like, what I was going to say. I feel like there would be separate medical facilities or clinics for when you're the criminal that got the punishment done to you.
Yeah, we'd have professional torturers or punishment
exactly,
or whatever, and that's horrifying.
Ooh, I wonder what they would call that. Like medical... Punishers. Medical punisher? Like, yeah, I mean,
something. It wouldn't be medical. It would be legal physical punisher or whatever. Like, I don't know. Something horrible.
That would be weird.
You know, back to the burden of proof, you know, if the burden of proof isn't super high, let's say the burden of proof is more like what we have with civil cases where the burden of proof is much lower to the point where, like, a lot of times if a civil suit is being brought against somebody who's rich, rather than even deal with it, they just pay off the person. If we're talking about that level of proof, then we also have to deal with the problem of, like, people framing their enemies. Like, that is a very powerful weapon that anyone has if they're smart enough and use the right words and can set up the right situations. Like, you can off people or ruin their lives just because they slighted you or because you don't like them or whatever, you know, and... You know, in our society, people still do that sometimes, but it's like, there's evidence and there's all this other stuff, you know what I mean? But, like, if you're crazy and you cut out your own eye or you chop off your own finger or whatever.
I see what you're saying. And then blame it on someone.
And maybe you fabricate enough evidence, like, you could ruin someone's life or, you know, like, or maybe, you know, you kill somebody and then you pin it on somebody else. Like, I don't like the idea of the burden of proof being lower because that gets into even scarier territory.
Yeah, that does. I mean, because people already do that now. Exactly. Right? Especially the part about someone killing someone else but blaming it on another.
Yeah.
You know,
people get wrongly convicted all the time to this day, you know, like, and that's with as high of a burden of proof as we have now. Like, I can't help but think this society would have a lower burden of proof because they're already fucking bloodthirsty.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they're just cruel and callous. They're just like, this society is at a point of, like, no, if you fucked up, pay the price. Like,
that is true.
No quarter, no, mercy, no pity, no understanding, nothing. Like, so
I do feel like that's how it is nowadays. And people want blood for something that doesn't call for that. You know what I mean? Exactly. Someone says something that a lot of people don't agree with, and all of a sudden now they want you to pay a price, you know, because you don't agree with what they,
and that's what I mean of, like, you know, there is no end to that type of, like, well, I guess bloodlust, if you will. You know what I mean? Like, this is why I have a huge problem with the Punisher as a superhero, and I feel like the Punisher.
I don't know if I consider him a superhero.
You know what I mean? Though.
Yeah, like an anti-hero, like someone who's like.
I mean,
kind of glorified in a way of.
He's a protagonist in a superhero universe. Like,
yeah.
Semantics aside, superhero. Like, I have a problem with him as a character because I feel like he overglorifies what is a horrifying mentality. And I think in a lot of the best stuff written about him, that's highlighted. Like, Frank Castle's a crazy person who is, like, he's a mad dog off his leash. And he just so happens to be kind of self-contained because he has a crazy, lawful, evil code of, like, I only punish the wrongdoers, you know what I mean? But, like, in a real world, like, he's not taking context or nuance. He's not taking context or nuance into play. He's just like, I think you did wrong, thus you deserve punishment, thus you need to be killed. Like, he's not burden of proof. He's not.
Yeah, he's just a blanket.
He's judge, jury, and executioner. And, like, there's just huge ethical problems with that. And we shouldn't be glorifying it. And just like we shouldn't be so accepting of vigilante online justice either. Like,
yeah, because it seems like it
ruins
like
people's lives.
Yeah.
I'll use this as an example.
They are like an online Punisher.
Right. There was an older gentleman at a Colorado Rockies game. This happened recently. Who was calling out for the mascot at the Rockies. The mascot's name is Dinger, which is a baseball term for a home run. He had a dinger.
Oh, okay.
So Dinger, the mascot, was doing something, taking photos with kids, and I think this old man, he was there with his granddaughter, and he was calling for the mascot to come over and, you know, take photos with his granddaughter and all that other stuff. Well, he was loud enough to be heard on the broadcast camera.
Oh, okay.
But unfortunately, a lot of people heard it and thought this old man was yelling a racial slur.
Oh, now, okay, like the N-word or something.
I remember seeing the link pop up and clicking it, and it didn't sound like that to me, but I didn't know what he was saying.
Yeah.
And then I start looking at the discussion. People figured it out. They're like, oh, he's not saying that. He's yelling for the mascot.
Dinger.
Look, the mascot's right over there. And like, and people connected the dots, but people connected the dots way too slowly, even though it was quickly. And within that first week, he was getting death threats, and his family was getting death threats, and like completely ruined, like, I mean, I won't say his life, but like that must have been a horrifying experience. And he didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, so.
Well, yeah, that's it. Didn't something else happen in baseball too? Like within the last 5 to 10 years of like somebody catching the ball that would have been. I wish I remembered like the teams now, but you know I don't really follow baseball. But like, wasn't it like somebody caught a ball and it was supposed to be if he didn't reach over to catch the ball, it would have bounced in, and they would have got the other team would have. The outfielder would have gotten the ball and they would have been able to throw it back enough time for them not to score. But because of this happened, and I can't remember if it was with the Dodgers. Do you know what story I'm talking about?
Yes, I know what you're talking about. So,
like didn't other fans like attack him and like almost kill him in the parking lot because of his injuries?
I don't know. I don't know about that. I think you're talking about, I forget his first name, but his last name is Bartman. And he was at a Cubs playoff game. This happened a while ago, more than 5 years ago. This would have been like
within 5 to 10 years. Right?
I think it was like somewhere between 10 and 15 years ago. I don't remember I don't remember the date, but basically the Cubs haven't hadn't at the time won the World Series in like 100 years, and they were finally like making a run into the playoffs. And I think it was the final game. Was it the final? It was one of the games in I think the championship series. And yeah, Bartman reached over and caught a ball that I think it was. What it was because he caught it, was it fan interference? Either way, him catching it interfered with the play, and it caused the bad thing to happen to the Cubs, which was his team that he was rooting for. Yeah. And then the Cubs didn't win and continued to never win for a long time after that until they recently did win. But yeah, he had to be escorted by security. He was receiving death threats. It ruined his whole life.
Oh, I thought he actually got physically attacked.
I don't think so, but either way, like it's the same.
But it's like, but even just to get a death threat, like, I understand that people love the game. I know you love the game, but like, if that happened, would you write a death threat to someone over a game? Not. Like that's, you know,
if anything, like I would have the opposite reaction, because like I cannot imagine being him, even without all the death threat stuff. Just the moment for what it is. Like, your team hasn't won the World Series in 100 years, and then you end up being the one, as a person, end up being the one reason your favorite team doesn't get to win it again. Yeah. Oh my God, I weep for you. I need to send you something to tell you, like, I'm so sorry, and that life isn't fair, and it's not really your fault. Bad things happen.
Well, you know what, then, in some weird society, then, if it was an eye for an eye, maybe that guy, when they finally did win the World Series, they could blame it on him that he made them win the World Series.
Now, I think when the Cubs made it to the World Series in 2016, they invited him, sweet, he declined. He didn't want to go.
But I would be scared too, because you don't know who's lurking in the crowd there that's still gonna remember that and be like, "Oh, I'm gonna go and punish him now."
Yeah, exactly.
Like as the Punisher. You know, like that's just
so. All in all, just the whole punishing without what is it called, due process is just I'm so against it, and I hate the Punisher as a character. I really do, always have. We could have got more into it. Like, I'm a little tired, so my thoughts aren't straight. But like, I feel like I could talk for a very long time and say a lot of things about my problems with the Punisher.
Well, you know what? Maybe we'll have another episode where we're going to be talking about the Punisher.
Sounds good to me.
But to recap on this one, I feel like an eye for an eye society would just be too harsh. I do feel like certain things would be stunted, within society that, it just wouldn't be up to what we have now.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
But, if we did live in that, and you went to court, and you were going to ask for that punishment, be like, Your Honor, could you imagine?
This just in, a new study suggests leaving an Apple Podcast review is very important for a newly created podcast. So please don't forget to leave an Apple Podcast review. In financial news, Patreon supporters are among the most appreciated in the podcast industry. You can support the DCYI team by heading over to patreon.com/dudecouldyouimagine. This has been Fritz Frivolous, reminding you to like, comment, and subscribe. Will and Tom, back to you.
Hey folks, come on down to Paradise Ranch. Ain't no funny business going on in this farm. Take a tour of our state-of-the-art slaughterhouse. Visit our lovely butcher shop and buy yourself a piece of humanely raised meat. We are located in the watchful hills of Bow County. So come on through and maybe you'll get a chance to meet me, Phineas Frivolous. I may even have you for dinner, I may even have you over for dinner. Y'all come down now, you hear? See you soon.
And we're back.
Indeed.
So, Will, this one I chose to ask you because I was recently reminded of this conversation you and I had, and I thought the story that you had when you told me this was awesome. My imagination just ran wild when you told me this story because I was like, man, and you got to experience this in real life. This is the closest anyone would probably really have come,
Yes, I know what you're talking about. Okay. So go ahead.
So for everyone else to know what the question is, what if you became stranded in a small town similar to The Hills Have Eyes?
Do I have parameters?
Yeah. Let me give you. This is a long parameter.
Because I've never seen The Hills Have Eyes.
Yeah, I wanted to try to. Oh, you haven't seen the movie?
No, I have not seen the movie.
Oh, I thought when we talked, you said you
I've
did
told you
see
3 times today I hadn't seen it.
Yeah, that's right. That shows how much I listen to you, Will. That is like, that's right. You did say that. Okay, I wanted to. The parameters is kind of long because I wanted to. I was thinking about what other questions would you think to try to get out? So I wanted to answer all your questions within this long story here. So the parameters are, your vehicle breaks down in the middle of a small, odd and out of place town. You have no cell reception to make calls or use the internet. You haven't eaten or had anything to drink for about 8 hours. You also really need to use the bathroom. Walking home is not an option. Mm-hmm. Only one other car has passed through this town, and when you tried to flag them down, you heard someone in the car yell at the driver, "Don't stop or we'll die!" No one else has passed through this town. The only thing you've noticed is the very few residents you've seen walking outside look a little abnormal and do not seem friendly. And the objective is just to see how you would survive and get the hell out of there.
Okay, so I take it that scene with the "Don't Stop or We'll Die" happens in the movie.
Actually, no.
Okay.
That actually that's actually from Back to the Future.
Okay,
when he goes to the past and he has his the radioactive suit on, and he tries to flag down that couple when he's back in 1955. And when they stop the car, she see the woman. You know, you imagine it's probably husband and wife. The woman in the car sees that he has this radioactive suit, so she just goes, "Don't stop or we'll die!" And then the guy drives off.
I do not remember that scene.
Oh, you know that's
at all. Like, is that a deleted scene? Because I swear,
it's right after he
arrives.
Yeah, and he crashes through the Twin Pines farm.
I do remember that. Yeah,
and
I
then
remember that.
and then after he meets that family and he drives out of there, the next thing it shows is that it's morning and he's hidden the car behind the sign for the Lion Estates, and he puts like branches of bushes that were there to hide the car, and that's what happens though. But he gets out, but he still has that
suit on.
You know, the suit on, and they're just like, well,
okay, interesting. So I have no cell phone. I need to go to the bathroom. I mean, that as a male is easy to find a secluded place, like
whether
a bush. I'm going to take care of that. If no one's letting me use the restroom.
What if you had to take a shit?
Well, yeah, that's more difficult. So no one's letting me use the restroom? What do you mean they're not friendly? Are they growling at me? I've never seen The Hills Have Eyes.
I know. See, and this is the part that's hard to describe them, because like some of these characters are like, well, you know what? Here's a Fritz fact, and let me just explain.
Okay.
The Hills Have Eyes is a 2006 American horror film, but it's a remake of Wes Craven's 1977 film of the same name. Wes Craven, most famously known for Nightmare on Elm Street. It was written by filmmaking partners Alexandre Aja and Gregory Levasseur of the French horror film High Tension, and directed by Aja. I hope I'm saying that right. The film follows a family that is targeted by a group of cannibalistic mutants after their car breaks down in the desert.
Okay.
Yeah. So the weird part is because like if and I haven't seen this.
So in the movie, do they go into a town, or are they just literally in the middle of nowhere?
In the movie, I think they start off kind of like in the middle of the nowhere. It's like one of those. I have to say this: I've seen the movie once, and then I never seen it again.
Okay.
So like 2006, how many years ago is that now? Like
15 years.
Yeah.
Ago.
So like, if my memory serves correct, which probably isn't, I think they're at like one of those. You always see the people that are stopped at that run down, dirty gas station.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, this is what I figure happens to you too. Is like, it's that run down, dirty gas station. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by the people are unfriendly is it's not that they're not like, won't help you or whatever, or try or talk to you and stuff, but they do seem standoffish. Like if you try to make any kind of small talk or ask any other question other than like what you need to have done for your car.
Oh, this sounds great. I never make small talk with anyone ever. This is fantastic. I won't even know that something's wrong yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Someone tried to make small talk with us earlier, and I almost had a conniption. Like, I was like, how is this happening? Please leave us alone.
I didn't think about that. You would be a resident of this town. You would probably go here and be like, I gotta remember to buy a house here.
I fucking love this town.
Nobody talks to me. Nobody bothers me.
That's hilarious. But here's my question. If I go into the gas station, is there actual, like, products on the shelves?
Very old, outdated products.
So, like, that Snack'ems pack is, like, 2 years out of date?
Oh, yeah. That Snack'em packs has been expired.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And if I asked, hey, can I use your restroom? What's the reaction from the person?
They're probably gonna they're gonna look at you and be like,
"Are you gonna buy anything?"
You know what I mean? Like they're not gonna like just let you go and use the bathroom. Like
I would be like, okay,
yeah. If they are, they're gonna want you to buy something.
Fine, I buy. Well, my car's not in town, right? Did my car break down in town?
Yeah, just outside at the beginning of town. Because usually towns do.
Am I alone or am I?
Yeah, you're alone. No, you're alone.
Okay, so I can't push it by myself then. Because I would need someone to steer it.
Yeah, you're alone. Oh, I didn't add that, did I?
I thought you might have said with my family.
No, you're alone. Yeah.
In that case, I would buy something and then ask if I could use the restroom. Is he still not going to let me use the restroom?
He just points around back. He
Okay.
doesn't even tell you that.
I still don't know anything's wrong. I'm just like,
that's cool.
He's just an asshole. That's fine. Whatever. Some people are assholes. I'm going to go use the restroom because I got to go so bad.
Okay. So you solved one problem.
Okay. What were my other problems? Sorry, I got to make a checklist.
Yeah, I know, right? First, okay, you have no cell phone reception.
Okay.
So, and you can't use the internet or make a call.
That's fine.
You do want to get out of there. Like, you want to make it back to your family. You're on your way home. Let's say that from some business trip or something, whatever.
End goal is get home.
The goal is to get home. You don't know what's wrong with the car. It just stopped. You have gas. You check the oil. The oil's there. Yeah. You just don't know what happened.
Okay.
Right. Let's see. Walking home's not an option.
Like, they didn't sabotage my car. Is that how the movie goes?
You know what?
Like,
I think in the movie they did.
I imagine it would get sabotaged afterwards. How would they sabotage it beforehand?
Yeah, no. I don't think that happened. I think it's a legit mechanical problem. But you don't know, you know what I mean? Unless, I don't know how much skill you have in mechanic, like being an auto mechanic or anything.
I mean, I might be able to figure out something. That doesn't mean I'll be able to fix it. But it's not just that I'm out of gas, because my idea was to push this to the gas station and gas it up.
And then also too, you haven't eaten or drinking anything in like 8 hours. And this, did you buy this pack of snackums that you call them? that you call this expired pack of snackums? And if you did you eat it?
Yeah, I bought it. If I saw that it was expired, I probably wouldn't have checked the expiration date unless the bag looks obviously ancient.
It does.
Okay, how old is this bag? Like, is it 10 years old?
No, it's not necessarily that the bag looks old, but I mean, it like, I'm talking about the store is dirty. It's not dusted. Everything looks like it's been in there for
At this point, I'm asking why this dude's even standing behind the counter, because obviously, I mean, I'm not literally asking him. I'm like, okay, so yeah, I'm going to open the packs, and if I smell that they're stale, or if I taste that they're stale, no, I'm not going to eat them.
Okay, you're not getting it. So I guess that's going to be one factor. You're very hungry. You're very thirsty.
I'll be fine. I can go 24 hours without eating. Like, I'll be okay.
Okay. Let's hope though that, within that time frame. So so then what's your next thing to do? What would you
I would ask to use the phone.
Mm-hmm.
He says no. I think he's going to tell me no, right? He's going to tell me no, because that'd be weird if he says yes.
Yeah, he says no.
Okay. I would ask him if he knew where a place I could use a phone.
Okay, I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
He points across the street. And across the street is this old, rickety, beat up house, right?
I'm not going in there. I'm not. There's no fucking way I'm going in there.
He tells you, he's like, hey, those folks could probably help you. They'll help you use the phone.
Now you're friendly.
Yeah, that's exactly how they would do it.
Fucking
way. That's...
Immediately. I was already like, okay, he's an asshole. That's fine. The second he flipped the switch, hell nah. Something's up. And then if I look where he's pointing me, I'm like, I'm not going in there.
You wouldn't do it?
No, I'm not going in there. Okay.
He says it's just a sweet old couple that lives on the corner
I don't believe you.
Okay.
It's at this point that I am trying to figure out, do I have access to a map of any kind? Like, so I don't actually carry a physical map in my own car, so it stands to reason I don't in this fictional world either.
So, yeah, I was going to bring that up because of the fact that everyone has, a
lot of times gas stations, especially in the middle of nowhere, have maps. Does this place have one?
He does have a map only of that town.
Oh, so it's not of the region.
No.
Okay. I'll buy the map though. For reals.
Okay, that sounds good. Yeah. I'm actually really digging this situational, because I have these almost like when you're playing D&D, I have these scenarios of if he answers here.
We're playing D&D now.
Almost. Yeah,
so
almost.
Anyways, all right. So do I have any, a lot of cars have, what are they called?
Tire iron?
Like tire iron. Yeah. Do I have one?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to go grab one.
Okay.
What is my regional knowledge?
Oh, of the area?
Yeah. Do I know how far the next towns are?
No.
Or the last town I was at? How far was it?
No, you don't.
How do I not know? I passed through.
Well, I mean, all you know is that the last town before this one that you came through, you were driving for 4 or more hours, you know what I mean, before there was anything really, and then you came up on this town.
Wow, 4 hours at 80 miles per hour probably, because it's in the middle of nowhere? That's okay. That's a lot. So, and I don't know where the next one is, right?
The next one, you don't know. And in fact, when you were driving here, you didn't even know of this town. when you came here, like, all of a sudden you're like, oh, I don't remember this town. You know what I mean? Like, that's weird.
Interesting. I guess I'll look at the map. Is there anything that sticks out to me as, like, a possible help?
I mean, they have, you see that on this map, it's one of those very vague maps. Mm-hmm. It's like one of those kid maps you see at those, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's very crudely made. And so you'll see a diner. There's one diner. Okay. Right? You'll see that there's one, I don't know. What do they call those? Old general stores? You know, one of those, one of those type things.
I guess, If I am hungry, one guy was an asshole and was creepy, but that's not enough for me to be scared of the entire town yet. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, all right, well, let me get something to eat and see what's up. So I'm going to go into the diner.
Oh, so you go to the diner? Okay, when you go in the diner, the same guy that was in the gas station.
Really? Is this how the movie goes?
No.
Oh my God.
Well, in the movie, to be honest, I can't remember exactly the whole thing of when this family, if I remember right, the family is in it's like a podunk small town place. But the thing is, there's these people that live off into the hills. And they're not, even though the family isn't technically right in there, those people are right around the edges of this town. Mm-hmm. And I think then they see that these people come into town. And so they start to come in to target them, to bring them into their lair or their... Okay. What do you want to call it? So that's in the movie, though.
So there's a town, and then there's mutants outside of that? Dude, what about the people who live in the town? Are they not in cahoots with the mutants?
I think they are. Some of them are, yeah.
If they are, why?
I don't know. I don't remember that part.
It sounds like a bad movie.
The first one, it's like your classic, horror, like just kind of like your horror, gruesome, gory film.
I hate gore horror. That's my least favorite kind. So the same dude does what? He shows up and shows up. He's a cook now.
Yeah. Now he says, sorry, we ain't got nothing on the menu except for one thing I can make you, and that's my own personal steak.
I'm gonna leave.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave because it's the same guy, and this dude's crazy. Yeah. Have I seen anyone else?
You've seen like out of the corner of your eye, like you'll see people like from the houses, from very few houses that are there on this quote unquote main street. Yeah. Like look from their curtain window, and then when you look over, they
I'm leaving. I'm leaving this town. At this point,
that is the goal. How are you leaving? That's what I wanted to figure out. How are you going to survive these? Seemingly weird type abnormal mutant people.
I haven't seen a mutant person yet, so I don't know how I'm going to survive them. I don't know that they exist yet.
No, the guy at the gas station seems like that. Like,
is he mutated?
Yeah.
How?
He seems a little like...
You didn't describe him to me.
Oh,
I just pictured an old man.
So he is old, but he has like a big old, like a goiter type thing that's on the left side of his neck, right? Then he has these 3 big balls on the forehead, right? Okay. And you notice that his left hand looks normal, but his right hand kind of looks almost like some kind of like a pincher, like a claw. You know what I mean? Like a.
This is some Lovecraftian Shadow over Innsmouth shit. Mm-hmm. Okay. So
but he's not wailing this right hand out and about all the time. He's not like trying to advertise. Look at my hand.
I, honest to God, think. What time is it? What time of day is it?
You know what? It is 5:30 p.m. The sun's about to go down.
Well, I don't feel safe staying anywhere in this town. Also, at 5:30, it's already going down? Mm-hmm. Okay.
This is this is like
winter time, so it's not even that hot.
This is like no, it's not hot.
Okay,
no.
Cool.
That would suck. That would add to it, because if that was me and it was hot, I'd be fucking pissed right now.
I think my best bet at this point would be... There's really just no options besides go back to the car, arm yourself, and wait for a car to pass by to try and flag down.
Oh, okay.
And literally just put yourself in the way of the car so they have to fucking stop for you. Like, I don't know. I don't know what else to do. What else are you going to do? Like, that, or I was going to walk until maybe I get reception.
Yeah, that would be the only other choice that you do. The problem with that choice would be how far you're walking and what time frame you can get back to your car, because of the fact that once it gets dark, man, you might be shit out of luck, like big time. Especially if there's people.
Well, how far did my car break down from?
Literally right at the beginning of the town. It's not outside the town.
Oh, so it's in town.
It's in town, but it's like at the right, almost right at the edge, because usually towns do have the last gas station right before you leave or whatever you come. Yeah.
I mean, I guess at that point, and the sun's about to go down. I mean, I'm just gonna fucking post up in my car and wait for passerbys and just try and flag them down. Like, there's nothing else to do.
Yeah, that's a smart decision. That's something I was thinking I would probably do.
Yeah.
But the reason I wanted to mention that, if it was like really hot, obviously your car's not working, you don't have the AC. God damn, would I probably die in this town? Because I'd be like, if any one of those mutated motherfuckers came up to me and said, if you go in there, you could stay in the old inn. They got air conditioning. I'd be like, oh, fuck yeah, thank God. And I would go in there and then they would somehow get me.
Well, I mean, you described the place as like a death trap. I'm not going in there.
I know.
So, like, and at that point, it's like, every time a car comes by, if any, like, I'm going to try, does a car come by? Like, I'm going to do everything I can to get it to stop. I'm going to have my emergency lights on. Everything.
Realistically, to be honest, I think if you waited it out, some car's going to probably...
Yeah, exactly. That's what I would hope for. Unless the mutants come for me. And at that point,
Well, see, but that's why it's good that you stayed in the car, at least.
Why?
Because at night, they probably will... in the movie, usually at night, that's what they're doing. They're sneaking around, they're skulking around, and they're going to try to find you there. You know what I mean?
What, in the town? Mm-hmm. Well, aren't they just going to come to my car?
Yeah, but at least you're like, you have something.
I'm going to take out at least one or two of these fuckers before they get me, because I'm going to make them pay the price.
That's what I'm saying. If you did go and use the phone at that neighbor's house, or ate that steak, which I was going to tell you if you said you ate it.
Made out of a person.
Made out of a person, and it made you sick, and then that's how you pass out.
No, I wasn't eating it.
And then you're going to be the next person's steak.
That's so stupid.
No, but I think that was fun, to be honest. That was pretty fun to talk about. But I do, if you don't mind, would you tell that story of what happened?
I hope I tell it entertainingly. I don't remember.
I was definitely entertained when you told me.
So one time when I was in high school, my mother was driving me and my friend back to her place. She lived way out in... See, it's hard for me. Like, how am I going to say, like... I can't name the cities here. So I don't want to disclose our undisclosed location.
Exactly.
So, she lived in a city that was quite the distance away from most other, like, major cities. Okay. There's a lot of rural desert area between the two cities, if you will. Okay. And in the middle of nowhere, amongst these rolling, dusty hills... We broke down. I think a belt broke on the car or whatever. Oh. And we had...
This was when you were a child, did you say again?
I was like 14.
14.
I was like 14. And she... I forget... I think my sister was there too, so she was younger. So she stayed in the car with my sister. She sent me and my buddy up the road to see if we can get like a phone call. Because like there was no cell reception
in the movie. Always a bad choice.
So we were like, whatever. It was hot as hell. This is in the middle of the day. It must have been like high noon. And so we walked for a couple miles because there was like from the distance, looked like a ranch down the way. Mm-hmm. Well, we got down the way. I wish I could remember the name of the ranch. It was something creepy.
Oh, really?
It was, because it was like, we're walking up.
Along the way, though, to that ranch, are there other homesteads or like houses or whatever?
So this was the only one in sight over here, but we could have gone backwards, an equal amount of distance to a different ranch. Probably a couple miles we'll say, to the south. We went north. We could have gone south. I wish we had gone south because it was a much nicer ranch. Anyways, we
so you chose the creepy one,
apparently, and not on purpose.
Not on purpose. Just.
So it was like Paradise Ranch. It was something creepy like that, whereas like it had a really nice, welcoming name with it when you looked at it.
Like they're trying to lure you.
Exactly, but at the same time, like the ranch itself looked super old and broken down, peeled paint, and just ghostly quiet. And we pull up to the gate and we're like, well, this is creepy. And unfortunately, there's a lot of trees in the way too, so like our vision is obscured.
You don't know who might be lurking.
And we were like, okay, well, let's walk up here. Hopefully people don't get mad at us coming onto their land. We just, we're going to try and go up to one of these buildings and look for somebody. So we walk up this gravel path into the trees, and the first building we come to is like a squat red house. I guess house you could call it. All the windows though, you couldn't see into them.
Oh, okay.
Like they were blacked out. And they had like dusty screen on them.
Oh, yeah.
And to get up to the front door, which was like a really old, dusty, like the
screen door,
like screen door that you push the button in. And you
oh,
pull it out
like an old, yeah,
that's like a really old
yeah.
one. You had to climb up onto this porch, right? So we climbed up to this porch, and it's eerily quiet. And we're looking around, and we just don't see anybody. And there's a few more buildings and trees and like old nasty playground that hasn't been used in years.
Where you just hear,
yeah, kind of, yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah, and like there's an old rusty weather vane.
Oh, that was really there.
Yes,
oh my
and
God.
I'm like, dude, this is like a fucking horror movie. And then I don't remember if it was me or him, but one of us knocked on the door because we're like, we're here, let's knock on the door. And I'm not making this up. Because of the shading and the lighting and the dustiness of everything, somehow both of us failed to notice that the door was covered in flies.
Oh, that is gross.
Yeah. Immediately knocked on the door and everywhere.
Oh my God.
We're like, oh shit! And we jump off the porch. And it's
Did
at
they
this
have
point.
rotting meat in there or something?
I don't know. I think it was hot, so the flies were on the shady door.
Okay.
It was just dark, and we weren't being observant, and we didn't notice.
That is gross.
And so it's at this point that we were literally looking at each other and be like, dude, this is creepy. This is scary.
Yeah.
And I was like, I know, but we got to find a phone. Like, we're stranded. And so we go to the next house.
Younger you definitely does not have the wits of you now. Like, where you would be like, no, forget it. I'm just not going there.
Older me has a cell phone.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And like, with better service than I think the 2G that was out at the time. So we go to the next building, which looks a little bit better kept up than that one. And I remember when we walked up the door, I could hear like people inside. It sounded like a woman and possibly some younger kids. I'm not sure, but there was also like a radio, like playing in the kitchen. Like,
tell me it was playing some old.
It was like it was like,
like, you know what I mean.
It was like talk radio or something. I don't know what. I don't remember.
Evangelical, like was it like someone about like, and you God, or something like that? You know,
it might have been, but I don't remember, so I'm not going to say it was.
Okay.
And we knocked on the door, this one, and then I heard some scrambling inside the house. And I mean, in hindsight, I'm like, I can't blame them because I'm sure they were like, holy shit, someone's at our door. Like,
yeah,
what the fuck?
Maybe, yeah.
So we hear some scrambling from inside, and then the door creaks open slowly, and all I see is this silhouette of this old lady with long gray hair. And she was mistrusting and standoffish, and she was like, can I help you? And I was just really honest and explained the situation. And she was a little bit creepy about it. Like, she was like oddly silent, and then she was like, I guess, and then let me go get my phone. And she did, I shit you not, pull out an old red rotary phone.
Really?
Shit you not.
Whoa, what the hell?
And who did I call? I don't remember who I was supposed to call, but I did call them. And I did get through. And then it was my mom's neighbor. That was it. And
you didn't have to like pick up the phone and you hear an operator be like, yeah, I need Klondike 555.
No. But yeah, I got through, got a hold of him, and he did come out and meet us and pick us up. We got out of there safely. Yeah. But like everything up until the point where the person I was calling picked up, I felt like I was in a movie.
So this is what I figure. I figure that you went to this ranch, right?
Yeah.
And the first one, the ranch, is probably where they slaughter the humans, right? Then go ahead.
Sorry, I want to add one more thing.
Oh, yeah.
This. And this is going to kind of give away our location, but it's too juicy not to include. Mm-hmm. The location where this happened is down the street from one of the biggest Scientology compounds. That place is under super lockdown and is one of the creepiest things that you can drive by.
Was that there, though, at that time?
Yes.
Oh, so it was there already.
It was something I knew about, too. So, like, this definitely, like, just knowing that also fed into, I think, mine and my friends' fears of, like, is this some crazy, like, cult place? Like, you know, like, are we walking into, like, the beginning of a Silent Hill movie? Like,
yeah, you probably were. Like, you know?
So that was part, because it was, like, the Scientology compound is down the way, and that place is fucking terrifying looking. Mm-hmm. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, from the distance, it looks like this weird gray concrete building. almost warehouse-like. But then as you get closer, it starts to have like odd kind of cathedral features to it. And then big, creepy stained glass with like all kinds of weird symbology on it. It looks like a Silent Hill, like church center.
That is weird.
And high gates, barbed wire. Yeah, it's scary. Anyways, go ahead.
Man, we'll see, because it's just so weird how you described the what was it, like 3 houses and the ranch that you went to, right? Because like it would all perfectly make sense. Like you go to this ranch, that's where they slaughter the humans, right? Then you go to this because usually,
by the way, it was an unused ranch. Like it was a ranch, but there was no what's
animals
it called? Animals. What?
Yeah.
But it's not agriculture. It's
I know what you're talking about. I can't think of the name. I can't think of the word now either.
It makes me mad when I can't think of a word I'm trying to think of.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was no chickens, there was no cows, there was no operation working.
There was like no cattle.
It was completely unused, and there was just somebody living in one of these creepy buildings.
Yeah, of course they don't need animals because the animals are humans, right? But usually what some of those type farms do is, right, and they'll have a storefront in the front, which is probably that red house that you're talking about. And that red house is where because the farm is where they just slaughter and they cut up the meat and it's in big pieces. This store, this red house that you went up to, would have all the flies that are on the thing. It's probably like that because they probably have now all the prime cuts of the human flesh on there. This is where they're like, you know what I mean? And then these other houses that are probably part of this small town, like, I'm just picturing in my head when you knocked on when you heard these children in the radio, they were probably feasting. Right?
Oh my God.
Not knowing that like
ridiculous.
some quote unquote outsider is looking upon them feasting on this human flesh. And so when you knocked, you know, like all of a sudden, like they scrambled, hurry up, you know,
right.
Oh, you can't, you know, don't let them.
Hey, I'm just glad they
see,
didn't
you know?
eat me.
Yeah.
That's all I gotta say.
I know, man. I'm glad that they did
there.
it and you're here. But dude, could you imagine?
And that is all we have for you tonight. We will continue to bring you up-to-date coverage as new imaginings develop. Please don't forget, you could join our Patreon at patreon.com/dudecouldyouimagine. Another way to support our podcast is by leaving an Apple Podcast review. You can subscribe to us on Instagram at dude_couldYouImagine, on Twitter at DCYimagine, and on our YouTube channel where you can leave a like and a comment. If you would like to contact us with what you are imagining, you can email us at dudecouldyouimagine@gmail.com. This has been Fritz Frivolous, and from all of us here at Dude Could You Imagine, keep on imagining.
I hope I told this story okay.
Yeah, dude, that story was phenomenal. I thought it was really good,
Okay,
dude.
cool.
Yeah.